Today, Persona 5 Tactica released on Xbox and PC. To celebrate this release, let's take a look at the history behind one of the most important demons in the story of the original game, Satanael. Spoilers ahead for Persona 5. The story of Persona 5 is one of corruption and rebellion, of the youth taking the world back from those who would see them beat down. But, much like its predecessors, there's also a deeper, more mythological story being told for those reading into the background. So let's talk about that deeper story. About the tale of the false god Yaldabaoth and their rebellious child, Sabaoth. While there are other figures who use these names in mainline Shin Megami Tensei games, those are meant to be different beings entirely, and as such, I won't be discussing those characters in this video. In that same vein, I also won't be covering other versions of Satan or Yahweh in this video, as the interpretations of those beings I'm discussing here are vastly different from the versions most people are aware of. The name Yaldabaoth comes from the beliefs of a 2nd century CE group known today as Gnostic Christians, who followed a different set of texts than we associate with modern Christianity. They venerated the acquisition of knowledge of the universe, or gnosis, as well as a rejection of the material world. The Gnostics believed that, while there is an all-powerful creator deity, which they called the monad, that deity was not the god of the Old Testament. Instead, that book was written at the behest of Yaldabaoth, an imperfect lower god called an Aeon. He was created by a higher god named Sophia, who herself was a direct creation of the monad. When Yaldabaoth was created, Sophia attempted to speak with him, but the newborn Yaldabaoth could not comprehend her. He heard her say, "Child, pass through to here," or Yaldabaoth, and assumed that to be his name. It's also worth mentioning that Yaldabaoth is actually stated in the text to be bigender, having both male and female attributes and identity. However, the translation of the text that I read in preparation for this video used he/him pronouns, so I'm going to work off the assumption that those are the pronouns that Gnostics use for him as well. Yaldabaoth created the material world that we live in today, as well as 7 realms of heaven. He ruled the highest one, and created 6 androgynous children, angels, to rule beneath him. Among those children was one known as Sabaoth. However, Sabaoth, unlike their parent, had been able to hear the words of Sophia, and she told him of the monad's plan for the material realm, that it would send an immortal being of glorious light to wipe the material realm clean from the influence of that being which they called the Demiurge. This likely referred to Jesus Christ, who was another child of the monad, much like Sophia. From Sophia, Sabaoth was given power over chaos greater than that of his father, causing war in Yaldabaoth's heavens. This war is reminiscent of the rebellion of Lucifer in more mainstream Christian beliefs. Sabaoth was also given a new kingdom, higher than Yaldabaoth's 7th heaven, and proclaimed the true ruler of the material realm. Yaldabaoth created the husks of the first humans, but it was Sophia who gave them souls. He attempted to trap humans on the material realm to worship him, but was thwarted when Jesus appeared in Eden and convinced the first humans, Adam and Eve, to eat an apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, granting them knowledge of the true cosmology above their blind, foolish creator. It's really interesting to me that Gnosticism took the original sin, and that considered to be sacrilegious in just about every other Abrahamic belief system, and instead viewed it as a positive rebellion that led humanity down the correct path. The name Satanael can be split into 2 parts. Satan is a word that means accuser or adversary. While most often used today to refer to the devil, who is the ultimate adversary of God, the word has not always referred to only this one being. The suffix El comes from the supreme Canaanite deity, who was eventually folded into the Hebrew language as the word for God, and is often used in names to draw a connection between a person and God. Therefore, the name Satanael translates to adversary of God. In Gnosticism, the most direct adversary of Yaldabaoth is his son, Sabaoth, and that is the true identity of Persona 5's Satanael. The name Satanael has also been used to refer to a few other beings by different Jewish and Christian groups. The Cathars believed it to be the name of the devil before his fall from grace. A similar story comes from the Book of Enoch, where Satanael was an angel who was imprisoned for being unwilling to bow to the human. The name is very often used in reference to Lucifer, which I think was also a purposeful choice on the part of Atlas, making it clear that both Lucifer and Sabaoth are alternate interpretations of the same figure. After hearing that tale, I think it brings the story of this game to a sharper focus. Yaldabaoth is a false god created from the warped desires of humanity. He created a corrupted world, the material realm in Gnosticism, and mementos in Persona 5, with which to trap the souls of humanity. Much like Sabaoth was the 2nd son of Yaldabaoth, so too was Joker the 2nd human given the power of the wild card by Yaldabaoth. Interestingly, in the Megami Tensei series, messianic figures usually come in twos, one false and one true. In Persona 5, Joker is the true messianic figure, compared to Akechi's false messiah, a role he takes on by taking the fall for the sins of all the Phantom Thieves. Yaldabaoth being Yaldabaoth's child also reflects the themes of Persona 5, with the youth standing up to the generation of their parents to fight through their corruption and create a better world. In the game's final battle, we get to see Satanael rebel against Yaldabaoth, defeating him with a sinful shell, a bullet formed from the 7 deadly sins for which Yaldabaoth judges humanity, despite also engaging them himself. When Arsene evolves into Satanael, it is a representation of Joker's rebellion against this false god. Satanael's positioning during that final confrontation is also meant to be reminiscent of Lucifer's Shin Megami Tensei 2 art, driving home the connection between the two. His appearance is that of a massive armored angel, giving the feeling of a demonic military leader. He wears a gold accented uniform with a large red sash pinned by a golden 5-pointed star. Sitting on his head is a golden helmet shaped like a pair of ram's horns. His halo is black and surrounded by demonic wings, similar to the 6 such wings on his back. Satanael carries a large rifle, reflecting how his gun abilities are actually some of the best in the entire game. Yaldabaoth's design is also meant to be reminiscent of an angel, but his design is more mechanical. This is often used in the Shin Megami Tensei series as shorthand for artificial divinity, such as with the angel Metatron, who some believe to have once been a human. Artificial divinity describes both versions of Yaldabaoth, with the Gnostic version being the creation of a lower god, while the Persona one is created from the corrupt desires of humanity, in order to rule over them. Satanael can also be fused using 6 separate personas. First is Arsene, Satanael's unevolved form. Satan and Lucifer are both included, as they are alternative representations of the same character. Michael not only represents Satanael's origin as an angel, but also stands as an instrument of justice, casting evil out of heaven. Anzu and Ishtar are a little harder to connect though. Ishtar, I think, is a reference to Pixie, the first additional persona Joker obtained, as she and Ishtar are the first and ultimate personas of the Lover Arcana, respectively. Anzu, on the other hand, I can only find a physical connection for, with the bird monster having similar looking wings to Satanael. Satanael then can be further awakened into Raoul, the ultimate version of Arsene, who more reflects Joker's personal story. I think we'll cover Arsene and Raoul in a different video at some point in the future. Satanael is a demon of the Fool Arcana, which represents new beginnings. In slaying Yaldabaoth, the Phantom Thieves are leading to a new beginning for the world, with a new ruler. This Arcana also represents chaos and freedom, a stark contrast to the God of Control. This is also the Arcana shared by Joker, as well as the protagonists of Personas 3 and 4. The Fool Arcana's representative in-game, interestingly, is Yaldabaoth himself, in the form of the Velvet Room's operator, Igor. This makes complete sense, as another of Yaldabaoth's names in the Gnostic texts is Saklos, which literally translates to the Fool. I hope this video brings the events of Persona 5 into context for you. It's still a wonderful story on its own, but I think the meaning behind the major players also brings an extra layer of depth. If I really wanted to, I could have definitely discussed Persona 5 Strikers in this video, but I may save that for its own episode further down the line, focusing on Sophia and that game's final boss, so keep an eye out for that. How do all of you feel about this? I really only scraped the surface of Gnostic mythology in this video, and there's so much more to learn about this belief system. I mostly read from On the Origins of the World and Hypostasis of the Archons in my research, both of which have been collected as part of the Nag Hammadi Codex. If you're interested in learning more about Gnosticism, I suggest looking into other documents in that library. And that's it for this first episode of what I'm calling Demon Compendium. I plan to do more videos on this in the future, but I have to ask, what demons or shadows or personas do you want to see me cover next? Let me know in the comments. Until then, I'll see you all next time.